we will learn about the hypothesis testing. So, what is the procedure of the hypothesis testing? And in most of the Lean Six Sigma projects, you have to use this hypothesis testing, whether you have to check whether your mean of your data is equals to some target value, or the mean of two different processes are same, or the variance of two different processes are same or not. So on this type of decisions, you have to use this hypothesis testing. So in the screen, you can see that this is the procedure of hypothesis testing. So first we have to state a null hypothesis. For example, if you are producing some certain product, for example, let us say you are producing a shaft. So your null hypothesis is the mean in diameter of the shaft you are producing, that will be, let us say, 15 centimeter. So your null hypothesis will be the x bar is equals to 15, and the alternative will be x bar is not equals to 15. So I will show you some examples also for null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Okay, so the next step is gather the evidence. That means you have to collect the data. For example, I have said that sample mean height or mean diameter of the shaft is equals to 15. So for in that case, first I have to collect the data of the shaft. That means in the I have to go in the production line and I have to measure all the shaft that I am taking into sample. So for all the shaft that I am taking into sample, I have to measure diameters, and then I can use the hypothesis testing tools available in Minitab or SPSS or any other software I can use. So based on that, we will decide whether our null hypothesis or true, or the alternative is true. So in that case, we will reject the hypothesis. If H1 H naught is rejected, that means H1 obviously it will be accepted, and if alternative will be accepted, that means null is accepted. So here we will decide based on the p value, right? So these are three steps. First step is to state the hypothesis, and next step is to gather the evidence, that means collecting data, and the last step is the decision based on the analysis which you will perform on some software. So let me show you some examples of the first case, that is null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. This Okay, so this will show you the H1 is H naught. In most of the books, if you read, or in most of the companies where you are working, so H naught is denoted for null hypothesis and HA for the alternative hypothesis. So these notations are common in all countries. And then we will calculate p value with the help of some software, and it is the probability value of that null hypothesis. So based on the p value, we will decide whether we reject H naught or we will reject the HA, right? So these are some examples of hypothesis. So first example, that H naught, we decided that mean of group A is equals to mean of group B. So alternative will be means of these group will not equals to. Similarly, in the next example, the slope of a line is equals to some target value, that is 0. And the alternative, it means slope of the line is not equals to 0, right? In another example, the variance of group A and group B are equal, and alternative will be variance are not equal. Similarly, you can see the next example, variables is variable x is independent of variable y, and variable x is not independent. So this is alternative. So there are some more cases that age doesn't matter in the company hiring practices, and age matters in the hiring practices. Then next one is data is normal. Alternative will be the data is not normal. Now you can interpret that the normality test. I said that the data is normal if the p value is is greater than 5% or 10%. So in that case, the probability of the H naught is high. That means we will accept that H naught, that is no, H naught we have to accept. That means the data is normal. Yes. So these are some examples of hypothesis testing. So let me show you the final decision matrix. So okay, so I will next video I will show you how to perform hypothesis testing in SPSS or Minitab. So in any software you will find the p-value, and based on the p-value you have to take some decisions. So there is a tagline that if p is low, null has to go. That means if your value of p, that p value is less than 5%, that means null hypothesis will be rejected, right? So if null is accepted, that means you have to follow the alternative hypothesis. And if the p is large, that means if p is greater than 5%, that means we have to follow the h naught. That means in that case, because if p is large, that means h naught will be rejected, right? So in the next video I will show you some t test and jet test and many hypothesis testing we will perform. So that's over for this video. Okay, thank you guys.